Hello, everyone, and welcome to our kindergarten transition meeting. It is so wonderful to come into your home and to be able to talk with you about our wonderful program that we have in kindergarten. As you can see, I have some great people with me today. I have Miss O'Brien, I have Miss Sutton, I have also Miss Masad. So we are here to tell you what our kindergarten year looks like. So let me share my screen and then we will begin. So first of all, I would like to welcome you to our kindergarten orientation for 2020 and 2021. Now look here, look what we did. We thought that we would take a funny picture of all of us on Zoom so that you could see us, and we just want you to know that we love you and we love your child. Who's who at Charlotte Prep? Well, I want you to know that we are all going to be back at Charlotte Prep. I will be back, Mrs. Forbes will be back, Amy David, that's at our front office, she will be there. Mrs. Malgeri will be our development director. We also have Mrs. Wood, who will still be in the business office. And then, of course, you have met our wonderful kindergarten staff. Now, preparation is underway for your child. So girls, tell me about that.
Well, the 4-year-old year, 4 turning into 5, have had at least 1 year to observe all the K leaders in their Montessori community, and they are usually eager to fulfill that K role. It's a very exciting year for them. They have been able to observe the kindergarten work that they've been surrounded with. They've been able to see the leadership roles that the Ks have taken on, and it's just one of their biggest years in our community. So we help guide them in their leadership year, and they normally naturally just fulfill that role on their own, and we're excited for them.
And now, tell me things about our kindergarten program and how it differs from other kindergarten programs.
I know, Ms. Sutton, one of the things you mentioned as we meet regarding our K leaders, you mentioned the independence that we're looking for in our K year.
Yes, you will find that your child is becoming a lot more independent with the work that they bring home for homework. We encourage them to be independent and take care of their homework themselves, as far as having to put them in their backpacks. And we also have our kindergartners become leaders for our 3s and 4s, so that they may look up to them and assist them in the classroom and become the leader. And we encourage that at home to give them more responsibility and give them more of a leadership role at home to assist them in their independence.
And I know Mrs. Masad usually puts this pretty beautifully. I know it says on this slide about it being the year of mastery. So we have a pretty unique scope and sequence within our Montessori community. And I think Mrs. Masad, you put it best when you talk about how we can continue to academically challenge them without any end in sight.
That's right. We do challenge our K students, and our scope and sequence do not cap at certain level. We can go higher than kindergarten if the child is ready academically. We challenge them with language and math. And if some K students need extra assistance and help, we do individual lessons and one-on-one. It's not just a small group. We work with each child individually and meet each child's need, whether it's a higher level academically or need extra work and assistance in the classroom.
Yes, Jamie, you are so right. That is beautifully said. You know, the great part about our school is, you know, we just don't have to keep our kids in a certain box and say, okay, by this particular time, they have to know this. We can keep going on and on and on. So that just makes our school so beautiful and so great for our students. And now what else do we need to know? How is kindergarten different than our 3-year-old and our 4-year-old classrooms?
It's actually very different. Every year looks different for the children within our community. I think you're going to hear our pre-primary team use the same terms that are very Montessori. You're going to hear us use individualized. You're going to hear us use the term independent. So we continue to follow the child. That's one of the things that's just our Montessori guide that we do, no matter how old the child is within our community. We follow the child, but we're also doing things within their K year that is preparing them for first grade. One of the things Ms. Sutton said is the independence, and that's something that we are trying to build upon for them. We encourage that at home so that that transition into their first grade year is just seamless and very easy. Ladies, I know you're going to touch a little bit on this. I know Mrs. Massad touched a little bit on the time management yesterday, but they're working at a higher level. They're working at a deeper level. So they're building upon everything they've learned in their previous years. And it's just all coming together for their kindergarten year.
I agree with you, Mrs. O. It is important to manage their time during their work cycle and the expectation. There is requirement in kindergarten class daily and different lessons. We do guide them to manage their time, to make sure they focus as much as they're capable to, and just to guide them to the right direction. If they need work plan to help them with their time management or specific different technique and ways to help them, that's what we're here for, to guide them and have them to be successful in kindergarten.
And one of the other key things I'm thinking of too, Ms. Sutton, you touched a little bit on the reading and the spelling, which is something that is at a different level within our K year.
Yes, weekly they will have a book that comes home, and they are to read it nightly. They can do it independently, and they can also read it with an adult. And they also have a spelling list that comes home, and then they are given a test on every week on those spelling words. So we encourage them to practice those at home, write them several times, and keep them in their folder in their backpacks so that they're becoming responsible on doing their homework independently.
And that's one of the things that are so important. I mean, we talk about that as, you know, a team, that the single most important thing that you can do for your child that K year, and a lot of families ask, what can I do? It's just focus on those 2 folders that are so important coming home.
Jamie, talk just a little bit. I am so amazed when I come into your classrooms and I see the advanced math. And moms and dads, I want you to know you're not going to see a lot of worksheets because the Montessori approach is so hands-on, so higher order, that our kids can learn such advanced math. Ms. O, talk about that for a second, please.
Well, I think that's what makes Montessori very unique. You know, if you were to walk into any of our pre-primary classrooms, you're going to see those key staples within our classroom. You're going to see, you know, the child working on a mat or a table in my room, and walk over to Mrs. Massad or Ms. Sutton's room and see those similar materials. They're very hands-on. I think that Montessori materials are just so beautiful, and they're encouraging the children to explore it. So when they're working at this deeper, more challenging level, we still want to be very careful that we still instill that love of learning for them. So we'll talk a little bit about, I think, in an upcoming slide, about continuing that freedom of movement that children have a need for, but the math materials and the language materials are very hands-on. So when a child is doing something in regards to the decimal system or different operations, they're able to touch the material and feel what the thousands feel like, the hundreds, the tens, and the units. And we always talk about how the hand works with the brain when they're able to explore it more. And it just helps them learn at a deeper level.
Thank you. That was beautifully said. And moms and dads, as you know, for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, we begin those grade levels with fine motor, dance, and movement, because developmentally, that's what they need. As we go into kindergarten, we transition over into keyboarding, into technology. So I think that is something that's very beneficial for our boys and girls as well. All right, some more things to know about our kindergarten program. Talk to me about our kindergarten requirements.
Well, we talk about that individualized learning. Maha touched on, or Mrs. Masad touched on the work plans. So a lot goes into the K year, not just the academic aspect, but we think on a level of how to prepare your environment in all of our grade levels, but at the K level, how to organize it. So we try to guide them with the other factors that will help them to be successful. So yeah, continue to be individualized. Every child we know works at a different pace, has a different learning style, a different personality. You know, it is a wonderful thing to work with this pre-primary team, and you see that they really know their students and the needs of their students, and that does not stop their kindergarten year, especially when they need that to most, because they're working at that deeper, challenging level.
You know, what's really interesting, girls, is that when we think about the development of the child, we also think about the learning style of the child. There are kids that are auditory learners. There are kids that are visual learners, kids that are kinesthetic learners. And it's so interesting to me that Maria Montessori, years and years and years ago, knew that kids learn better when they are using all three modalities. For example, they are hearing the teacher's instruction. They are manipulating it with their hands. They are seeing it. And everything in a Montessori classroom, that's exactly what happens. And that's why our students learn. And I'm just so proud every time I go in and I see that, because I know our school is on the right track. Miss O'Brien, is there anything else we want to cover on this slide before we go on?
Well, I think it's important that that the families know that I think for me, looking at the slide, one of the big things is the freedom of movement. You know, as the child does explore their work cycles, in Montessori, the work cycles are purposefully long for them so that they have a moment to really explore the work. You know, the product is important and we understand that, but it's also so important to observe them in that process of discovering that product. And so that's one of the big things in Montessori, is us as Montessori guides, is to observe the process. And that's where that love of learning comes in at. So they do have that freedom of movement to work to mastery, and then to make their area beautiful and move on to the next thing.
That's great. And I don't know if you can see or not, but there's this last one down at the bottom that we use technology as an extension to our curriculum. Ms. Masad, talk to us about how we use technology in our classrooms for our extensions.
Well, we use the smart board in the classroom for hands-on lesson and activities for the students to be interacting with the smart board. Also, we have the tablet where they can use their Montessori materials and use the technology. And they do have computer class as a special, where they get to have the foundation and the basic skill of typing and recognizing the letters, and different levels and different skills for the K students.
Yes, and you know what's so amazing to me when I walk in? I can see one student in his process using the 100 board, just the regular wooden board that we have that Maria Montessori created. And then I see you three use the iPad with an electronic board, 100 board, that looks just like the wooden board that Maria Montessori made years ago. And then I see you guys have them write it, have them place the letters and the words and the different numbers, and it's just so amazing what you do. And also, I know just recently you've been working on the stamp tool in the classroom, that you're working not only with the manipulatives, the wooden manipulatives, to the digital manipulatives. I'm telling you what, you guys just do a lot of wonderful things that I think makes our school and our kindergartners just set apart from other things. So let's talk again about more of Charlotte Prep Kindergarten. So tell me what we look at a kindergarten student. Ms. Sutton, how about you take this one? How do we, what is kindergarten conduct and discipline? What does that look like?
Honest discipline, we do a lot about kindness and peacefulness and respectfulness, and those are something that you will hear in the classroom, I mean, on a daily basis for us, to where when we're teaching them about the kindness and respecting their classmates and their friends and their environment, it goes hand in hand to where you don't have those conflicts in the classroom. I mean, honestly, they're non-existent in a Montessori classroom because they are brought up from 3-year-olds all the way up to a K on learning how to respect your materials that you use. You walk around a friend's work. We don't touch another friend's work. So it's things like that that seem so small and minor, but it truly builds up the character for our children to where they're more respectful to one another, and we don't have the conflicts that you see in other children.
Yes. Anyone else want to draw anything from our slide that you want to say in respect of all of this?
I believe we strongly encourage the students and especially our K students for always positive and solve any conflict between each other, to take that role and responsibility to think how they can make things better and more positive and have the grace and the courtesy. And like Ms. Sutton said, it's become their character. They develop that character, and they respect friends, they respect the environment, they respect everybody's work, and it's amazing environment.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say this too, not only are we teaching those skills in our classrooms, but we see our parents at our school doing the exact same thing at home. In fact, they will even say some of the same vocabulary words that we say. And we very much appreciate that. Anyone else before we move on? Ms. O'Brien, anything you want to say here?
I think the two ladies touched on it beautifully. Grace and courtesy is just a big part of our Montessori community, and our K leaders are encouraged to, nurture the younger students around them, and it's so beautiful to observe. It is the kindest, sweetest thing. So it's that social growth and character building that we're guiding them through on their K year.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Now, will my kindergartner excel and continue to learn even though my child is with 4 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds? Will that happen, ladies?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell us about it.
That's where that individualized learning comes into play. The Ks are very aware that they have their K requirements in the morning. It's very important that they are prepared for first grade. So they're working at another level. We talk about respecting each other's work area. So it's a beautiful community work cycle, but it is very individualized, and the K work looks very, very different than the other work around them. And that's when that social growth comes in, when a K is working at such a high level, but they're observing some of the other things that they've previously learned in years past, and they get to see how far they've become.
Mm-hmm. Ladies, do you want to say anything else to this?
Mrs. O had covered it up. It is individualized, and they do have a different level and expectation in K. While they're working individually, the 3s and the 4s, they are busy and engaged with their own work. So our Ks just during the work cycle focusing on what they need to do, and they do a great job. They take that full responsibility on their work plan and what they need to do.
Very good. And as the leader in the school, I just have to tell you that for our 8th graders to leave us with 5 high school credits requirements it has to begin somewhere, and it begins in kindergarten. It begins where our kindergartners are setting the stage. And it's so amazing. Sometimes in our school, you wonder, what are they doing? Because traditionally, we think worksheets should come home, and we think this should come home, and that should come home. But what you don't realize is that our brain and our mind works so beautifully with the Montessori materials all through third grade. That our kids are ready to take on the high academic prep program in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And once again, it starts in kindergarten. So I'm just so, so proud of that. All right, how many children will be in the classroom?
So our Montessori community is certainly made up of different age groups. It's different multi-age, but I think it's important for families to know that it is common for us to have another assistant educator that's with us during the day. So it definitely is a tight ship that we run to make sure that it's a beautiful Montessori community that's working in their work cycles and grace and courtesy. So you know, even when we look at the ratio, we are looking at it as a Montessori community when we all come together, and we have ages 3, 4, 5, and 6s that we're just one big family. But we do have, we usually do have the 2 individuals with us.
And we have 24 students in a classroom, 24, 25. And historically, when Maria Montessori made this way of learning, this beautiful way of learning, it was basically 30 to 2. However, national guidelines have changed some, and so we try to work around that 24-25 goal. And basically, we are so proud to have 3 pre-primary classrooms, and which will then feed right into our lower L classrooms. So it's just a wonderful system that we have developed. And summer ideas. Ladies, give our wonderful parents some summer ideas that they can do to get them ready to begin kindergarten.
First and foremost, I would say reading. Just read constantly. I mean, that is, to me, that is a huge thing to do. It's just to read, practice sight words, practice, you know, read the book, even if you don't understand the entire book, find the words that you know in there and practice those words over and over again. I mean, honestly, reading is the best thing. Practice the skills that you learn in the classroom. At home, you can use those apps that we were talking about. Those are great tools also to use throughout the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Also in language, open-ended questions, they're very important for each student, comprehension. And after you read to your child, ask your child open-ended questions from the story. Have them to help you in the kitchen and count for math and sorting and taking a responsibility. That will help the students in kindergarten to be in charge and become leadership.
Ms. O, anything you want to add to that?
I completely agreed with what the lady said. Absolutely. I think that everything that they just touched on will spill over in other areas, and I totally, completely agree with them.
All right, great. And then let's go to our next one, closing. Our teachers are available to answer any questions that you may have. Feel free to email your child's teacher at any time. Ladies, I know that you'll be watching your emails. Anything you want to say about them asking you any questions?
I think we all love to talk Montessori. If you saw us outside the classroom on a weekend, we are usually, all of us, chatting about Montessori. So we would love to talk your head off about it. And I think it's too very important for parents to know that this K year, we are closely in touch with lower elementary as far as what we need to do in here to prepare them as far as first grade benchmarks. And yeah, so any questions we would love to answer.
All right, and mom and dad and our incoming kindergarten students, all we can say is thank you so very much for looking at our transition video. Also, I want to thank you so much for allowing us to serve your family. We love our families. We love being with you. And I want to say a special thank you to my teachers. I want you to know that I believe that I have the best staff and the best teachers. And I'm so proud of everything they do each and every day. So mom and dad, we love you. And thank you once again. I'm going to say goodbye, and we will see you in August, and have a great, great summer.